All right, so we're live in CL here from 4860 and trying to see if we survive this. We're at a low volume node here. Are we going to reject off of it or push through it? The POC is right above it, so there's another opportunity for us to get rejected. But plus 10 ticks in the trade so far, locked in. But the question is, sort of what changed 6-8 weeks ago, and there's really two answers. The first is that we moved away from we made the decision that the indexes were simply too volatile to trade and stop trying to trade them. They're too random. But in order to do that, in order to do the work to bring up these other markets, I had to write a new program that simulates the trading using the trade parameters that we use here. So previously we were using Sierra Charts replay program, and the problem is that the method that we're using is so computationally intensive that the replays simply take forever now, and so they're basically unusable. And so I have a program here. I don't know how many lines it is. It's a couple hundred lines long that I use to mimic the kind of trading the very specific kind of trade management that I use with the parameters that I tweak. And it's that simulation program that has allowed me to understand what or rather it's given me two things. One is how should I change, what's sort of the optimal trade parameters in terms of stops and when stop amount, when to move the stop, how much to trail it by, what limit entry offset to use, these kinds of things. The other thing it does is it allows me to do it automatically will do what I call a grid search, which is take every single behavior and run it in isolation and see what are the results of that behavior in that market over that time period. And then it's also set up to work not just on a time period, but on successive time periods. So we can take a look at how do breakout longs look for each month over the last 6 months. And then that analysis is what's used to determine, what behaviors, what codes will I use in each market, right? And so that information is published to you members. And so that's kind of the key difference that has come about. So the really painful journey from last March in the middle of huge volatility to now is resulted in a system with a process that I think is really strong now. And my current focus is on refining that analytical process to see sort of how do you best find the behaviors that are most appropriate for that market. And the couple things there to be thinking about are how quickly are you adapting to changing market conditions. So that's what I'm doing right now. Is my initial read was use 6 months worth of data and look for repeating behaviors. And now I'm using 3 months worth of data, trying to be more current with how the market's currently acting, and so I'm gonna use January to sort of compare those two and see which sort of which one is best. In the meantime, I'm looking at other ways to better understand how to go about figuring out what are the optimal behaviors. So 14 ticks there in oil. So we'll see. It's clearly, if nothing else, I'm on the right track here. So we'll just continue to push forward now. Okay, here we are at the end of the day, and let's see, we ended up oil up 11 ticks, gold up 10 ticks. The euro takes a max loss at minus 14 ticks. These are $6.25 ticks. And the yen took one loss, which we'll talk about in particular, with some slippage. This is a 6 tick stop here, so that was 2 ticks of slippage, and the reason is that it happened right at news. Where is it? Okay, so you can see right here, some news comes out, I don't even know what it was, and this market just went kind of berserk. It actually has it correct in terms of the signal, because you can see the fall that comes, but it's just too volatile for the tightness of the stop that we're using. You shouldn't be taking trades in this kind of craziness anyway. This is this is all within 1 second here. What is that? 10 bars. Anyway, so in oil and gold, I have not been putting a blackout around either the stock market open or the top of the hour, 7 o'clock Pacific, when there's often news. Just because it hasn't been needed through 6 weeks of trading now, and none of the analysis includes a blackout period. However, it's pretty clear that I need one at least for the yen and potentially for the euro. These are thinner markets, they're currencies. In any case, what I did for members in studies, go to ML Predict. This is the custom study that does the machine learning work, and just change the time range so that it normally looked, or in the chart book you downloaded, it looks like this. All right, 525 to 1040. So you're just putting in another range, 525 to 658, and then a comma, and then 702 to 1040. That puts a 4-minute blackout around 7 o'clock. Okay. So then what else happened in this market? No other trades. All right, back from a minor interruption. So you can see we are getting some signals here at the value area low. They aren't signals that the analysis has shown you should take, so we're skipping them. If you're curious about this little blue dot, what we're doing is showing the cases where the system is making a prediction, even if it's outside the time range. So this will stop at 1040. We actually run out of, so like right here we are in the evening. You'll notice there's no yellow code. That's because we're outside the time range that we take a trade. So you could make that dot the actual code itself. You can see there's a bunch of them here. And I turned them off because I have a different analytical process now, so I don't need to see them. But it's nice to see that it is doing it is looking there where you expect it to be looking. At this point, I could probably turn off the orange bars as well. They were basically a debug to make sure I understood when the machine was looking. Now I don't know that it's necessary anymore. Okay, so that's the yen. Let's take a look at the euro here at 6E. What happened here? Okay, so there's the open here. So a short there, basically on that break. Okay, I see that. And then along there that gets nicked. So that's, stop is a little too tight. You'd make a little bit, but then oh, I remember now. Yeah, this short here, I didn't actually take a trade here, and the reason is that another thing for members, when you're switching from sim to live, we have this checklist of things to do. But something I've noticed that I'm not sure if it's new or it didn't come up before for some reason, but if you bring up the trade window, you have to make sure that this drop down is on your live account, not on sim. So it was on sim 1 when I started this morning because I switched it from simulation over the weekend. So we probably need to add that to the checklist. I don't recall that being there before, but it is now. In any case, I didn't take that short there. That would have been a loss. Then a long here that gets nicked, and then a short here that's basically getting caught in the chop here. It's coming off of this signal here. This bar is saying to get short, and so when it rolls back over is when we get short. And in this case, though, the market's kind of grinding its way up. All right, so there's how much? Well, we'll see exactly how much of a loss that is. It's not that much. We're not risking that much because these ticks it's 7 ticks per trade, and it's only 625 per tick, so it's quite a bit less than an oil or a gold trade. So oil had a little bit of heartbreak here in oil because let's see here. Here we go. So we get long here, and this is just a beautiful entry, but trail is a little too tight. A 20 tick trail survives this. 15 tick gets taken out, and we missed that move, so that's unfortunate. The blue arrow here, there was a signal to try to get long. I just didn't get filled. Okay, so I miss out on that the little bit of the rest of that move. Try to get short there, and it's a little too soon. Basically, the market's grinding sideways here. So, and then along here, and again, we make a little bit here, but we're too aggressive with the stop trail early on, right? So it didn't pop right away. We got in right there, and then you get 10 ticks. We move to entry plus 5, right? So we're trying to scalp our way into a runner, somewhat like what happened down here. So here that works fine. We drag up the stop behind it, and then you start to trail. This is exactly what we're looking for, that pop right there. And this is, for those of you that have known me, this is way different than I've ever traded. I usually would get in and not move the stop for a while and give it a lot of room. And, I would end up catching this whole move, but then all the other times where the market doesn't make that move, I'd end up scratching or taking a loss. So the analysis is pretty clear on at least with the machine learning system, how getting that little bit on the moves that don't go anywhere, or the trades that don't go anywhere, make up for the times when this happens, where you get taken out by trailing too tightly. Okay, so then that's that, and then I don't think there's any other signals here. We're looking here, right? This is all the right places to look. Value area low, and then here on the pullback to the value area, that's a really sweet looking set of signals there. And then rotating around the point of control, stay out of trouble. And then you break lower and then pull back, and so you're looking on that pullback. But no actionable signals there. Okay, and then in gold, what happened in gold here? Let's see. So we get short here. That arrow's a little small. We get short right there, and then get so this is a great example of that tight trail early on ends up capturing about as much as you could possibly expect to get off of that entry. So 10 ticks, and then it pulls back. It's the pullback where you'd actually like to get in, right? But not an actionable signal there. And that's it. no other trades in that market. All right, so the total for the day is so plus 110 in oil, plus 100 in gold, minus 50 and minus 87.50 in the two currencies. So that looks like this. Trade activity log somewhere. There it is. So 72.50. We'll call it $70. Okay, so that's it. We will see what tomorrow brings. Take care.